poring over the European Commission's forecast. We're looking at subdued growth, unemployment to stay at record highs. Pretty grim reading all round, eh?
Yes, indeed. It's 177 pages of doom and gloom, I would have to say. This downgrade probably shouldn't have come to much of a surprise for market watchers, because if you look at the most recent staff estimates from the ECB, which were released in September, they're forecasting just 1% economic growth from out of the Eurozone next year. So 1.1, I think they'd be happy to bag that for 2014.
And to add to that, the euro is forecast to become even stronger.
Yeah.
Bad news for exporters, and could it derail the recovery?
Well, it's interesting because if you look at the rhetoric coming out from policymakers over the summer, it did shift subtly. In the early part of the year, the drivers of growth in the Eurozone were said to be exports and investment. Over the summer, as the fallout in emerging markets unfolded, that shifted to domestic demand and investment. But it's hard to see how domestic demand is going to fill that gap when unemployment is set to remain stubbornly high, as is wage growth.
Sure. And do you think the ECB has been a bit too relaxed about the threat of deflation?
Yeah, I think they're massively behind the curve. There are certain elements to the Eurozone economy which are reminiscent of Japan in the 1990s, and we know that didn't end happily. So, yes, they're behind the curve. It's only a matter of time until the ECB cut. I don't think they're going to do that this week, but I think all bets are off for December and the early part of the year. No brainer. They're going to have to do it.
Okay. And what is the trade, giving all this, that we've talked about? What is the trade for investors, given Eurozone growth is going to be, pretty subdued? The US, the earnings there haven't come through as analysts had thought. Where do investors put their money?
Well, I think it's a very tricky one, Angeline. I mean, I said at the start of the year I thought it would be a decent year for equities. If you look at global equity, it's put on over 20% dollar. So I think that the headroom for equities globally is actually, at this point, relatively limited. Focusing specifically on the Eurozone, you have seen this significant outperformance of European stocks over the US, particularly over the last 3 or 4 months. I think that's topping out. So if you want to get involved at this stage, you're really betting that flows are going to continue to support European equities, because from what I can see, and certainly this is supported by where we are in the earnings season, the fundamentals don't really seem to be there, unfortunately.